Yeah, I have started the recording. Yeah, I have started the recording. Okay, so okay, so so in yesterday class we have discussed the the very simple requirement, uh, which looks like that, right? It depends on the project to project, which requirement, which type of format you will get in your real time, how they are defined, the things, right? Now, yesterday we have set up the JSON server in our local machine to do the practice. Okay, so I think if you have not attended the yesterday class, please go and watch the yesterday class where I have explained how you can how you can set up the on local JSON server in your machine, so that we can do the practice as much you can. Okay, so is anyone facing issue regarding the setup? Then let me know, I will help you. Or everyone is done with the setup? Is everyone is done with the setup, like how you can set up the JSON server? Okay, no problem. If you face if you are facing any issue, then in the query session we can discuss. You can share your screen, and I will look into that, right? So uh, when you run the command, here you can see, let me again explain you the give me a second. Yeah, here you can see, this is in the document. I have mentioned that how you can set up your local JSON server. First, you have to check the node version, right? If node version is there, then you have to check the npm version. If npm version is there, right, for the npm you don't have to do anything. When you install the node, it will automatically, the npm will also get installed, so you don't have to do any specific thing for the npm. Okay, now after verifying both the version, if you don't have the node, then you can download through this link. After that, install the JSON server in your local machine. So for the installation, we have to run this command npm install -g JSON server, right? So so wherever you have run your command, let's suppose you run the command at this particular directory, right? So one db.json file will get created inside that. If you go to the C users and admin, here you will see there the db.json file will get created, right? So you can you will see that file, right? So after that we have to start the server, right? To do the practice, right, we need to start your server. After then we can perform the CRUD operation, right? So whenever you start doing the practice, you don't have to install every time. This is the one time setup. Okay, do not do regularly, right? If you are facing any issue, then delete the db file, then you can again install. Okay, so but when you want to use the server, every time you have to start the server actually. So this is the command to start the server. Copy that command and go it. Let me close it here, and yeah, you have to paste that command when you enter, so your server will get started, right? Your server will get started. So by default in the db.json file, right, so this resource will be there, right? What resource? The post, comment, and the profile. But this is not the real time data. Okay, so that's why I have override this data with my real time data. uh, Let me show you that particular data. So I have also provided in the chat box. If you go and check your chat box, if you go and check your chat box here, here you can see the JSON object file I have provided you. Okay, so when you open this JSON object file, this is my JSON object file. This is the real time data which you will face in the real time data. Like we have employee resource, right? Inside the employee resource, we have the different types of the keys and the values we can enter, right? And then we have the other resource like income, right? Like that we have the multiple resource as well you can add, right? So what you have to do, control A and control C. Copy all the JSON object from this file. Copy all the JSON object from this file. Go to the C users. Where is your dv.json file is? Go to that dv.json file. This one. Open that file. Control A and Control V. Paste that file with the new, with this file actually, which I have provided into your chat box. You have to replace the old data, the default data, which was in the dv.json file, this data, right, by default. So you have to replace this data with our data, real-time data, okay. Now when I run the command to start the server, JSON server -- watch dv.json, here you can see there are two resources are there. Whatever the resource I have added, that will all listed here. You can see localhost 3000. This is your host URL, where is your server is hosted. HTTP localhost 3000 port. This is your the host URL, right? And this is your resource. There are two resources inside your dv.json file, right? And this is your the host URL, right? So when you when you copy this URL and go to the Chrome browser and hit that URL, right, the host URL, you will see the message. Sorry. You will see this particular page like, congratulations, your server is started. If I stop the server, let's suppose I stop the server, right? And when I again hit this URL, let's see, you will see the error message. Yeah, you can see this site is can't be reached because the server is down. That's why, right? The same thing we are also the developer are doing. If you need any server running, then developer has to start their server. Now the question is, in the real time we have to create the JSON server, and you have to start our JSON server in the real time. No, you don't have to do that, because the main purpose of doing that to do the practice. Because if you use any other server, we have to dump the data, right? So no other server will allow you to dump the data frequently, okay, or they will delete the data frequently. So that's why we are created on local server. In the real time we don't have to do. If in your mind that sir, we have to also do it in the real time, no, you don't have to do. The client will provide you this server URL. It is not your headache, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, now let's begin the requirement, right? So okay, let's suppose you are working in this particular project, like the project service name is localhost 3000, let's suppose, right? So the client has the created one story. The let me open close this thing. Let me open the new notepad. Okay, so the client has let's suppose my API bank. I'm giving the story name as API bank and story number 1000, right? And giving the name here. So create the employee and verify the employee and verify the same. Okay. So this is your story number, which you know start, you have to work on that, right? So they have added some description here regarding this story, right? They will add some description like what you have to do, right? And they will provide one the link of the document, right? They will provide the document, the link of the document, you know, the Confluence page, right? So let's suppose this is the Confluence page where you have to refer, right? Otherwise what they will do, you know, in the description they will mention the thing, right? But most of the case you will, you know, they will, you know, share the document with you where you can refer the thing. Okay, if they have not shared the link, they will add in the description. It depends on the person to person, how they are, you know, approaching the thing, how they are creating the story. Actually, it's totally depends on the person to person. But most of the chances, if you talk about the standard way, then they will share the Confluence page with you, and they will share the requirement page, right? You have to follow that requirement page. Okay, now when you open that requirement page, you have to go and read the requirement. So here you can see you have to find the where is the create the employee object. Okay, so this is the create the employee object, right? So you can read this thing that they have added some description like the create employee object using the post method. Please find the below mapping detail. Okay, now they have added the detail. Now you have to map this thing into your the Postman. Not I'm asking only Postman, whatever the tool you are using to do the API testing, where you can map. If you use, let's suppose, SOAP UI, if you use JMeter, if you use REST Assure, the concept is same. The same way you have to map it. But the way of doing, you know, the way of doing the things is different. The way of doing the things is totally different. The guy who is attending my the performance testing class, they know the difference. If I explain the things here, then they will easily understand how it's basically similar. Okay, so let's try to map the thing. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, first read the thing, the post method. So if you are let me, so our collection is created, right? So what I can do it here, I will in, if you click on the three dot here, the three dot, right here, you will see one, you can add the folder. Here you can see add a folder, right? So I because let me put all this you know, request which we have created inside this folder, right? So let me give the name here in this particular folder name. Let me edit like this was for the users requirement, right? Users, right? So I have created one users and move all the things here inside this particular folder. Okay, clear? Now I have added inside that, right? Now for this requirement, what is the resource here? What is the resource name here? Employee, right? So what you can do, click on the three dot and you have to create one folder, add folder, give the name as an employee. Whatever the resource name, whatever the module name, right? So you can create the module name, you can create the folder with that module name. Okay, and you have to add all the requests inside that particular module. Okay, so let's suppose it is the employee, right? So employee, I have added the employee, right? Now let me close the thing, close all, do not save. Okay, now I have added the request. Now going to the first requirement and reading the requirement. So it's saying that you have to select the post method, right? So I'm going here and selecting the post method, right? After then you can see the /employee, right? So the /employee, that means this resource you have to use, right? So in the description, in the story description, they will provide you on which host URL you have to use. the host URL or base URL, right, in the story. If they had not provided and the host URL is also not mentioned in the requirement sheet, here you can see the host URL is not mentioned here in the requirement sheet, right? They have only mentioned the resource, right? So there is maximum chance they will provide the host URL in the story. If you are not get the host URL, then you will get in the link document. If you will also not get in the link document, then you have to communicate with your client or the concerned person, and you have to get the host URL, because you have to map the things, you have to connect with the server. So we need the URL where on which service you want to test, right? So let's suppose the URL is provided in the story description. Okay, so this is your host URL. This is your host URL which you have to test, right? So now the host URL is done, right? So I will copy the host URL and paste it here, right? Now go and check the requirement sheet. What resource type is using? Employee, right? So copy that employee and paste it here, right? Now you can see it here. There are different parameters are there. And there are like 4 columns are there: name, type, in, description. Okay, so let's try to understand this table. Okay, the first name. So the first name is the key, and the type means value data type, right? And the body and the description. So anyone can explain me what did you understand by this line? Any guess, wrong or right, doesn't matter. So at least what did you understand by this line? Anyone, guys?
So first name is the key and its data type is string, and it's
Okay.
the first name of the employee. The value will be
Yeah, but what it means, this one, the third column.
We need to pass in the request body.
I think the value needs the employee first name to create this application. The value.
So this means that this 4 column means that guys, you can mute. So this first name is a key, and this is the data type of your value, and this is the body. The body means where you have to pass this first name inside your request, where you have to pass. So it asking you to pass in the body, and here you will see the description about what exactly why we are passing. So employee first name to create the application, basically it means. Okay, so what I will do it here, I will go to the Postman and select the body, right? It is the post method, and select the raw, and then one other things you can see it here, the post header. Here you can see the post header is content type and application JSON. So the content type, right? So they have provided the content type. So header means if anything we are passing into the header, that means we are trying to ask to the server the request we are passing, that is in the form of this particular header, right? If you are saying the content type is a key which is already defined, as a it is already defined by the W3C, the API community, right? If you are using any header and if you are passing any request, they have defined some of the header that you have to use. Okay, so you can see the content type, what content you are passing to the server. So we are passing application JSON. We are working in the REST API, and I told you in 90%, even more than that, if you are using the REST API, the format is JSON. The format is JSON. So this asking that we have to use application slash JSON here. If you are passing XML body, right? XML body, then it is XML slash, sorry, application slash XML, right? If this is known as a MIME type, MIME. If you go into the Google and type MIME, type here, you can see. If you go and type here MIME type, let me open the any one of them. Here you can see the complete list of the MIME type. Okay, so if you go here, you can see, let's suppose you are passing in the form of JPG. You are passing any JPG. Here you can see you have to send the image slash JPG. If you are passing JSON, you can see it here. If you are passing the JSON format, application JSON, right? So this is the MIME type, which it connect with the server, and it asking to the server what is the format we are using. We have to ask to the server. Let's suppose I'm connecting with you, right? So before connecting with you, I'm asking I'm asking to you that I will communicate in the English or Hindi, right? So that you are prepared, right? So similarly the case is here, right? So the request, which type of format we are using, we have to use the MIME type here, right? Here you can see extension, right? So which extension we are using? JSON, right? JSON, and the MIME type here you can see. So if you go and see, if you are using the JSON format, then you have to use this particular MIME type. If you are using XML, you can see you have to use this one. Yeah, here you can see, if you are using the HTML, you can see application slash XHTML. I think when I given the explanation of the UI at that time, in the accept type it was displaying. And if you go and check, here you can see for the .xml file, it is using application XML, right? So similarly, this thing, guys, you can mute. So this thing is decided by the client. You don't have to worry. With the coordination of client and the developer, they have to decide which header they have to use. So you have the question that how I can determine which header I have to pass. So it is not your headache. So that is decided by the client. The client will show you that which header you have to pass. If they have not provided in the document, then you have to discuss with the client that sir, which header you are using to connect with the server, then they will provide you. Okay, so in my case here we are using the content type as an application JSON, right? So if where now the question is where we have to pass, right? If you go to the header section, here you have to pass the content type, content and type. Okay, the content type, right? And here you have to pass the value. What value? You can see it here, application JSON, right? Application JSON. If you are using the XML, if your format is XML, then we have to use, you can see XML, right? So like that, we can use. This is decided by the client which content type we have to send to the server. It depends on the request, what request format we are using here, right? So now go to parameter section and you have to map this thing, right? So select the body, select the raw and the JSON type. If it is XML, then select XML. If it is HTML, then select HTML. Now, in my case, we are using the REST API. In the REST API, we are using the JSON. Okay, when we discuss the SOAP API, then we will select the XML. Okay, so let's discuss about the REST API thing, right? Now, guys, now how I can map this thing here? Tell me how I can map. You have the requirement in front of you, the parameter, and you have the tool, in which tool you have to map. And now the body section is also open here, right? Now how you can map this thing, this parameter here in this body? Tell me. Tell me, sir, how you can map the parameter in the body section. Guys, some of the guys are still, they have not made the payment. Please make the payment, guys. Already we have taken the multiple classes. Okay, so please make the payment, guys. Today, end of the day. Okay, so yeah, guys, tell me, what would be your approach? How you can map? Yeah, you have the keys and all the
Start
things.
with the curly bracket and then first name equal to first name dot dot.
Exactly. So we have to map this thing, right? The client has provided you that the key. The client will not ask you that how to create the JSON object and all the things, right? Right. So that's why it is your work to do that, right? So first you have to create the JSON object, right? To connect with the server, right? JSON object, right? You have created the JSON object. How you can create? Using the curly bracket, open curly bracket and close curly bracket. Then we have to pass the keys and the value. That is the JSON object, right? Now, what you are doing here, copy this first name. I know you all are very good in English, but always try to copy because it is case sensitive. So that's why I always try to copy the thing. Okay. So here how you can create the key and the value, right? The value. This is the format to create the JSON object, right? Now you can see the type is string here. The type is string, right? So as a type, what value you have to pass it here? Now tell me. So it is the first name. So let me pass something like Rahul test. Okay, I have passed the Rahul test, right? So now, guys, you can mute. Rahul test, right? Now, now, what you have to do, you have passed inside the body, right? The first thing is done, right? Now the second mapping, the last name. So the second key is the last name. So how you can map? Go here and again type it here. What? The last name, right? And the same thing, last name you have to pass, right? So the last name. So what is the last name of the user? What is the last name of the user? So you are doing the testing, so you can pass anything like Singh, right? You have passed the Singh, right? Now the prefix, right? So when you copy the prefix, go here. Right, prefix, right? And here you have to type which prefix you want to add. They have given, right, some of the prefix, like they have given the example, right? It is also an string, and you have to pass inside the body, and you can see doctor, professor, engineer, you can pass it here, right? So you can go it here, and you can use, let's suppose, dr. Okay, you have passed dr. Now you can go to the next side, the next one. What is the birth surname? You can see the next parameter is birth surname, and again it is the string, and we have to pass inside the body, right? So copy this birth surname, and I will go here and again create the key and pass the value, right? It is an string, then you have to pass it inside the double quote, right? The birth surname, let's suppose Rocky. Okay, I'm giving, right? So right now email ID, right? You can see the email ID is one key. Now you can see the string, and it is, we have to pass inside the body, and they have added the description imply email ID to get the notification, right? So you can map, copy this thing, and we'll go here and map this thing, right? So email ID, you have to pass it here. What email ID you have to use? Let's suppose Rahul test@gmail.com, right? You have mapped this thing as well, right? Now come to the next point, the smoker. Is Rahul is smoking or not? Okay, they are creating the employee object. Inside the employee object, this all the data you have to fill as per the requirement, right? So in the smoker, if you go to the smoker, here you can see it is an boolean. Now the data type is gets changed, boolean, and it is you have to pass inside the body, and employee is smoking or not. This is the description, right? So here you can pass it either true or false, right? So I have passed the true, right? Or you can pass it the false, right? So here you will see that particular data type you have to pass it. Okay, now coming to the next, smoker date. The smoker date, let's suppose a smoker date, and here you can also pass as a string. Okay, the string value, either you can pass the null or the string, right? So let's suppose you are smoking, but you don't know the date. You don't know the date, right? So you can use the smoker date as a null. If you don't know what date I have started, you can pass the null value, something like that. Or if you know, then you can pass it like any particular value, like 2000, 2009, 10, whatever value you want to put it here, right? Let's suppose 09 and 003, right? Now the next part, right? If you go here and you can see the date of birth, what is the person date of birth, right? So you can, again, it's very simple, guys. Date of birth, right? You can copy and you can pass it here, the date of birth, right? And if you go here in the requirement, it is an string, and inside the body, an implied date of birth in YYDDMM format you have to pass it, right? So what you are doing here, as per the requirement, you have to pass the things as a YYDDMN. Let's suppose you are passing the date of birth, right? 1995, 6 or 0809, something like that. You have passed the date of birth, right? Yeah. Now the second thing, type. Which type it is? Which type? So they have provided one type for type property. Type, right? Now if you go here, and it is the string and the body, here you can see the employee, the type they have mentioned, the client, partner, and child. So what exactly means? So sometime, let me define that thing in very easy way. Let me go to the trip. And what I'm doing here. Okay, here you can see you have defined some of the things like Delhi, Mumbai. You can select Bangalore, Pune, Goa. In this particular list, you have to select the value. If you are passing anything, then it will not search. It will say not found, right? So sometime for the particular property, the client will define the custom value. That particular value you have to pass it. That particular value you have to pass it. That is known as a enum value. They will in the document they will mention the enum value. These three value you can use for the type. Apart from that, if you are using the other one, apart from this three property, if you are using the other one, then you will get the error message, because they have not defined the other things. That's why. If I, same thing here, if I select something like that, the invalid one, right? If it's working or not here. Okay, it's by default taking the, let me take another example. What example I can take it? Give me a second. Go to the view price. Book now. Book now. After then, yeah, let's suppose you can see it here. You have the first name. Inside the first name, you can pass anything. Inside the last name, you can pass anything, right? But in the country code, here you can see they have defined the country code. In this country code, in the list they have provided, you have to select that value. If you are passing any other thing, it will not accept, no option, right? So similarly, if you are passing any other thing and you are trying to connect with the server apart from this particular value, then you will get the error message, right? So let's suppose I'm selecting the type as a client. Type as a client, right? And right?
Yes.
Now, the coming to the nationality. What is the nationality of that particular person? They have added one more property, the key, the nationality, right? So you will add that particular key, and you can see the string and the body and the nationality of the employee, right? So so let's suppose I and D. Okay, I and D, right? Now the coming to the address. Address is an object here. Now you can see here data type is get changed. Now it is asking, it is an object, and you have to pass inside the body address of employee, partner and child. Now you guys tell me how I can map this thing, this address here. Tell me guys how I can map. So please look at this requirement. The requirement is asking address and it is an object. In the string, in the boolean, it was easy, right? But in the case of object, how you can map?
You have to pass in array or string, because like.
Sorry, come again, sir.
We have to pass in an array or a string, in an array or in the string
But
format or array format. Like here they change it to object, right?
so what we have to do, if it is an object, copy that the key name, and here the same thing we can do. The property you have defined, now it is an array, right? Sorry, it is an object, right? It is an object, and it is an object, and array object. Let's suppose I missed the thing here, array object, right? So what you have to do, right? Have created the object here. You created the object here, right? Now this mapping is done. Now this particular thing is done, right? Now come to this point. Here you can see the string is one key, and the string is one key, and you have to use the data type as a string. And you can see inside the body they have given address and a street. Then what exactly it means? Tell me, guys. So this thing indicate that this address key, sorry, this street key, you have to pass it inside the address. They have given the path of that where you have to mention. Inside the address you have to mention. You can see inside the address. So what we can do, so we can't directly if you are creating the address array, so inside that you have to define the JSON object as well. So you defined the JSON object. Now you can add the other property, right? Like street, right? So you pass the street here, and right now whatever the street name, it is an string, right? B609, right? So this thing you have done. Inside the address you define the street. The same thing I have did it here, right? Now you can see the another thing, the house number and the string, and in the body you can see body address and the house number, right? So I will copy the house number, will go here and will define the, okay, you have defined the things like that. Okay, the house number, right? The let's suppose sorry, I passed the street. Let's suppose Gandhi Road. Okay, and here the house number is G block 100. Okay, now you have to postal code. What is the postal code, right? Right, in other country we are the pin is known as a postal code, right? So we can't use it here, the postal code, right? And here you can pass the string, the address postal code, right? So here you can pass the value postal code, and let me check the data type. It is an string, right? So you have to define the string and type like 609, something like that, the postal code, right? Now the city, okay, so you have to define the city here, right? The city, right? The city is, and it is again a string, right? Delhi, right? Delhi, right? Now the country you have to use, right? Country, though, what you have to do, country, right? So country, and then you can use like India. Okay, you pass, right? Now the next thing is the phone number. You can see the data type is number, and where you have to pass body. So tell me where I have to pass this thing. Tell me, sir. Tell me, guys, where I have to pass the phone number. This phone number.
In the body section only. Because
What is it?
The body where? Inside the body where, sir?
After the address, after the address.
After address or after nationality, anything is fine.
After address.
After, exactly. So you can see the path is, it is outside the address, right? You can't see any the hierarchy here, right? So that means you have to pass the phone number. Copy the phone number. You have to pass that phone number. How I can comma and then you can use like that and then it is a number, right? So you can pass something like that. Correct?
Yes.
So any confusion regarding the mapping? So if you get some other thing like that, you can map it. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this requirements, the seat is depends on to project actually. Okay. They will represent the same thing in different way or some more detailed way. Right? So we will also discuss that thing. Okay. So your mapping is done. Now you have to connect with the server. When you connect with the server, you can see it here. The 201 is created. 201 is created. So when you go and check the mapping sheet, you can see it here. You can see they have given some default response in the requirement. See, they have given some format that it will looks like that, right? So you can see the status code is 201, right? So they are asking that if you are trying to create anything, you will get the 201. So right now we will discuss the status code later on in the separate class. Okay. So but one thing you can keep in mind, whenever you are doing any CRUD operation and that CRUD operation is successfully performed, then you will get the 200 series 200 series status code in the response, right? So here you can see the data is successfully created inside the inside this particular service, inside this particular resource, right? So you can see 201 it's giving you, right? So you can see here. So it indicate that the developer has implemented the correct thing, right? So you are getting the 201 and you have to map this thing, right? Now the next thing, it generate the unique ID, right? So here you can see if you go to the requirement, right? So it asking you, it will generate the unique ID. Here you can see, which I told you that when you are creating anything into the server, right? So server will return the unique ID. Server will return the unique ID, right? So based on that unique ID, you can perform the other action. So you can see this ID is provided by the server, right? Now you can go and check the response format should be in JSON. Yes, it is in the form of JSON. You can see it is in the form of JSON. If you go to the header section, you can see it here. It is the content type. You again see it is in the JSON. So that means that you are also getting the response in the form of JSON. It does not mean if you are sending the XML, then it will return the JSON. Right? So in which format you are sending the response to the server, in the same format it will return. Right? Now if you go to this requirement, now you can see they have added these some other things also as per the requirement. Let's suppose the bad request, unauthorization and the forbidden. So this thing we will discuss in the status code class, right? Status code class, right? So mapping is done. You have mapped the thing. So in the requirement sheet, they will provide you everything. When you successfully get the response, what status code is, how the response will looks like, right? And you can see if you are passing the wrong token, then which error message you will get. If you are trying to, if other person is trying to access your data, so in that case, what status code you will get. If you are trying to get, passing some bad syntax, in that case, what status code you will get? Let's suppose I'm passing the bad syntax here. I'm passing the not passing the comma here, right? And if you call, you will get the 400 bad request, the error message. So like that we have to test, but we will not discuss that thing here. First we will discuss the mapping. Okay, after then we will come to that point. Okay, clear guys?
Yes, because.
Okay, now let me save this thing actually. So guys, what naming convention you want to give it for this particular request? Can I give this particular request as a create employee object, or create employee, right? You can see create employee, right? Now if you go and add request other, right, here you can go and what we have to do, yeah. Now the second requirement is, the first requirement is done. Guys, please today make the payment. Still we have multiple person who has not done the payment, right? So please make the payment guys, please. So because my behavior is totally different from the other trainer, right? So I can understand your problem, right? So that's why I'm giving sufficient time. I'm providing you you can attend the class. After then you can if you are satisfied, then you can continue the thing, right? So I'm not take the things before and then block you, right? So my things are totally different. Okay, so also try to understand me, and please today make the payment after this class, please. So let's discuss the another requirement. So guys, the second story, this one was the to create the employee, right? Now the second story is coming to you, bank API bank, right? And here the story number is 1001, and where you have to verify the created data, verify the created data using the employee ID, using the ID, let's suppose. Okay, and they will provide you, this one was the first story. Okay, now this is the second story, right, which you have to work, right? Now in the description, right, you have to add the description, means the who is creating the story, right? And they will provide you the link of this document where they have mentioned the requirement, right? Document, right? Now you will see it here, get employee data using the ID, right? So you can see this thing, right? Now list the employee, right? Here you can see this is the resource you have to use, right? And this is the content type you have to use. So I will go here and create one request, right? Select the get method, and the what is the base URL. So this is the base URL which you have to use, right? I have passed it here. Now go and check the requirement. What is the next thing? The employee and the ID. So here you can see it uses the curly bracket. So what exactly means, guys? It is the dynamic value, right? So this thing you have to pass as a dynamic, right? So what you are doing here, copy this thing, this thing, right? And go to the Postman and pass it here, right? Pass it here, right? And this thing you have to pass the ID as a dynamic, right? So where this ID will comes up? So the data which you have created or from the existing one. Right? So the ID is 6 here. So I will copy this ID and I will pass it here, right? The 6. Now the second thing, this thing is done. Okay, the content type is pending. Content type application JSON. So I will go to the header and I can mention here the content type. Content type, it will ask to the server in which format we are sending the request. Okay, application, this is the MIME type. Okay, MIME type, here you can select JSON. Right now the next thing, again the parameter. Okay, the content type string and inside the header. So tell me, this thing is done? We have already done, right? Right guys, we have already done here as part of this, right?
Yes.
Right? So ID integer, it is asking integer, and in the URL here you can see where you have to pass. Here you can see in the header you have to pass, or here you can see ID you have to pass in the URL. Where? In the URL. Guys, you can mute. And they have provided the description unique ID for employee. Using that you can perform the CRUD operation, right? So I have passed the ID here, right? And in the type, you can see they are asking that you have to pass in the URL, right? Now you can connect with the server, right? Now your mapping is done. Now when you call here, you can see the data, right? So you can see 200, okay. That means you have successfully performed the action and you get the data. And when you see the response here, you can see status code 200 and you will get the response like that. Right? So you have mapped the things correctly. If you are not getting the 200, if you are getting some other thing, right? So that means you have not mapped the things or it is an issue. Right? Now, can I give this name as get the employee
ID.
Get the employee ID, right? Okay. Now create the another request, add request, and go to the next requirement. Here you can see as part of the next requirement, get all the data, and get method. This is the resource and the header is content type, and here you can see content type and string, and inside the header here you don't have to pass the ID because this is to get all the data. So when I map this thing get, and here you can pass the URL. This is the URL, right? So I will copy this thing and pass it here, right? I have passed it here, right? Now the content type, I will pass the content type here, the content type, right? And here I can use application JSON. Application JSON and call. You will see all the data will get displayed here, right? So guys, what is the difference between get by ID and get all data?
Get by ID for a particular ID we will get the data. If you use employees for every data we will see in that body. Every numbers, every employees we can see the data. If you use
if you are
particular
using
ID,
the get using the ID, then you will get that particular data, and it is, you can see it is an JSON object, right? If you can see the get method, it is an array because we have the multiple object, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Now let me save this request. Let me save and give the name get all the data. Get all the employee data, right? Now this requirement is done, right? Now the other thing is they have also implemented the query parameter functionality, right? Get the data using the query parameter, right? So I will create one request, add, delete. Okay, add request, go and add request, and here what is the method? Get, and you can see it here, get you have to use, and content type is application JSON, right? So I can use the same in the same way, right? So in the same way, and you have used, right? Now get content type, here you have to use the header as a content type application JSON, right? Application JSON, right? Now as per the requirement, here you can see the content type you have used, right? Now the property name, here you can see the property name and a string, and the query param. User can filter the data using key and value using the first name, email ID, and phone number, and the last name. So this particular row is explaining that you have to use the query param, and using the query param you can filter out the data, and these all are the property, based on that you can filter out the data. Okay, so I will go to the query param section, and will go here, and what is the property name? So first name, so I will pass it here, right? I will pass it here. Now here you can pass the value. Let's suppose the data which we have created, let me try that one. Okay, so I will go here and pass it here, right? If I click on send, right, whatever the data, here you can see this is an JSON array, Rahul test, one data is there. Second object, Rahul test, the multiple first name we have with the name of Rahul test, right? So we have mapped only one, we have added only one query param. Similarly, you can add the other one also, right? So you can add the email. Let's suppose here I'm passing some invalid value, right? And let me call. Here you can see the blank data is there because the condition is get unmatched, because we are using the AND operator. Here you can see the first name and the value, and the second query param and the value. So we are using the AND operator, right? So if you pass the valid one, so let's suppose this is the valid data, right? So guys, if you not watch the yesterday recording session, go and watch. Okay, where I have explained the query param and all the things. Okay, so you can send, you can see data get displayed here, right? Similarly, you can map the other thing, and you can test like phone number, right? So you can pass the phone number here, right? And you can add the phone number. Let's suppose I'm passing this one. So you can see it giving me the blank, because all the three condition, first name, email ID, and the phone number, is not get matched for the particular person, same person. That's why it returning you the blank response, right? So let me pass the correct phone number. This is the correct phone number of that particular person. If I pass that phone number, you see it here, the data get displayed, right? So like that you can use, they will provide you the query param and you can use. Now the next requirement is delete. Okay, we will not discuss about the delete right now. We will discuss about update, patch 1. Okay, so so guys, what name I have to give it here? Get 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 employee using get employee query param. Okay, now create one more folder, and here you can, sorry, not folder, request, delete and add request, right? And here here you can see update patch, right? So you can go here and select the patch it here, right? And then what you have to do, so, copy this thing and we'll go here, right? And you can see again the curly bracket you can see for the ID. So what exactly it means, you have to pass the dynamic things, right? And if you are updating any value, any particular things using the patch method, you have to pass the primary key. Whatever the primary key you have to pass it as per the requirement. Not you can pass it anything, guys. Let's suppose in the requirement it asking the ID here. Based on the ID you can search the data and you can update. So what you are doing, you are very smart. What you are doing, instead of ID you are using here, instead of ID here you are using based on the first name. Using the first name you are trying to filter out the data, right? So if I call, let's see if we are getting in 404 not found. You can see it here because this is the not the correct format as per the requirement. We have to only pass the ID here, the employee ID. If your requirement is asking that you can pass email ID, based on the email ID you can filter out the data and you can update, yes you can. If the requirement is asking that you can use the using the using the phone number, you can update your data. So you can pass the phone number here and you can fetch the data and you can update the thing. But here in our case, in our requirement using the ID, so I'm not asking only you have to pass the ID here. I'm asking this thing is depends on to the requirement, guys. So do not
Because one
get
question,
confused here.
because one
Yeah,
question.
tell me, sir.
See, you are telling that as per the requirement only way to go it. That's okay. In companies means they will restrict to the particular this thing. But now when you search with the name, even though it is their ID, we're not able to find because it's a common server. Why it is happening like that? Any?
Come again, sir. Come again. What
No,
was the
as
question?
you said, in requirement, whatever it is there, we need to give. That in companies, what they will give, they will restrict to the particular this thing and they will give. We know that. Now,
Yeah.
when you come to our local server, when we search it without a ID or name of the name we are given and searched, we are not able to find. Uh, is that any restrictions will be there for that also? What we are mapping there?
In our local server, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
when we are using this particular things, actually this particular server, when we have installed, they have set up some of the things default. Actually, you can see it here. If you go to this JSON server, they have defined internally they have defined some of the things which you can use it here, the common functionality, but you can't perform all the things here. Means which is which acts like the same as a real time. You can't do it here. Some of the things it is working fine here, some of the things you will not get it here. Okay.
okay. That's what the Rahul test you have given, right? There it is there in requirement
Yeah.
ID. So we are not able to find with the Rahul test. Okay.
What happen if you are passing the requirement ID? So server will, this particular server will understand if you are using the patch method. So internally the developer has, set the mapping. If you are using the patch, right? First it will go and identify the ID here, right? So what you are doing here, instead of ID, the correct ID, you are passing some other value. So the server will understand only that you are passing the ID. The server will not understand that you are passing email ID or name or other things. Server will only understand you are passing the ID. So it will go and search inside the ID only,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
That's
But
the real
inside the ID, that thing is not exist. So that's why it will return the response, return the error message to you. So if I pass the email ID, so that will not go inside the email ID section and search the email ID. That is not happening here. If the developer has, as per the requirement, they have set the ID in their coding. Then if you pass anything here, then server will only understand the client is sending the ID here. Either it is wrong or right, doesn't matter. It will go and check the ID section.
Okay, there's a real scenario. I understood that. Okay, just I'm asking here why it is not such. Okay, it will not take everything. That is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, let's try to understand the update method, update the patch method. Okay. We have update also, and put and patch is there, right? Which we have to discuss, in which we have the pending, right? So can we discuss in this class, or we can continue in tomorrow class, like put and patch, because the time is already over 9:45. It's up to you guys.
Because tomorrow, I hope no one is there here.
No, the person are there, the 10 to 11%.
No, but they're not showing anything there.
Okay, so okay, we can.
There, anybody?
Okay. Okay, no problem. We can continue our class in tomorrow class. So today I'm going to share this requirement sheet with you, right? So that you can refer this requirement. Clear? You can go and map the things, right? And before that, if you are using this requirement, before that, the DB file which I have shared with you, replace that DB file with the JSON object which I have provided you. After that, it will work, right? So thank you class, thank you guys. So in tomorrow class we will discuss about the patch method, the put and patch, and we will see the difference as well. What is the difference in between the put and patch and the post method, right? And then we will discuss the GitHub requirement. If you go to the GitHub requirement, GitHub developer requirement, if you go here, give me a second. Yeah, GitHub developer. Here you can see these all are the endpoint. If you go to the repository, the things which I have explained you, the same thing you will get it here, guys. These all are the real time, guys, which you will see in the real time. Same thing, guys, same thing. Let me check the repository. Okay. So if I click on that, here you can see this is the repository resource, and they have added all the things. You can see it here. You can see it here. In my case, you can see in the GitHub requirement they are using the header as a accept. You can see it here. In my case, I was using as a content type. So you have the question, sir, you are explaining me the content type you have to use, and you are also explaining me to use the application V and VND GitHub, right? So guys, I told you this thing is depends on the requirement, right? So after that we will discuss the GitHub requirement, right? After that we will discuss the Swagger requirement, right? How the things are, sometimes you will get the things using the Swagger, right? So we will discuss the Swagger thing also. After that we will start doing the testing, right? When the mapping concept is clear, right? So thank you guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you guys. Have a nice day.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Tell me if you have any query, then let me know. And please, guys, make the payment who has not done the payment after this class, or you can
Yeah,
payment now. Yes, sir. Tell me. Go ahead, sir.
yeah, Vikas, sir. Yeah, today is my first session actually. So whatever sessions we have covered so
Oh,
far,
Vishal.
can you
Yeah, yeah.
please share the recording? Yeah, so that I'll immediately refer and we will on the same page. I do not have anything for reference. So whatever is going on, I'm trying to,
Okay. So I
mm,
I will share the document with you. So
yeah,
sorry,
document
the
and the
video recording. Okay.
document and
Yeah, yeah,
recording, please.
yeah. I
Sure,
will share
sure,
that.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
If
Bye.
you have any question, then I'm here for a couple of minutes. Then you can ask me the question. If you don't have, then you can continue your work. No question? Okay. Thank you guys. Have a nice day.